Hello, and welcome to episode 9 of Fierce Integrity, A Course in Living Your Truth, accompanied by my super dog today for the reading. In the course, 21 lessons, we're on lesson number 6, and the title of this lesson is Finding the Divine Perfection in Everything. So far in this course, we've been talking about first identifying the voice in our head, and then letting go of the judgments that we hold both towards ourselves and others. We've been working towards letting go of our assumptions and changing the story in our head. We have been working on letting go of blame and becoming accountable for ourselves and our emotions. Now, I would like to take it one step further. I want to invite you to do something wild, something crazy. I would like you to think about each of those people or situations that you have made judgments about. Can you see each of these people or circumstances as divinely perfect? Remember that when you find yourself holding on to negative thoughts and emotions, the only person that you are hurting is yourself. You are the one that is causing the suffering in your life. You are the one who is allowing your inner peace to be disturbed. I am well aware that what I am asking you to do is no easy task. In fact, you could call it our life's work. However, while it might be a lot of work to change our perspectives about ourselves and others, it is well worth the effort. For as we develop and cultivate unconditional love and compassion for all sentient beings, including ourselves, it can pave the way to a more peaceful existence. This simple truth has the ability to alleviate a lot of your suffering. One of the greatest minds of our time, Albert Einstein, said, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." What an invitation to find the divine perfection in each moment, especially during those times of struggle. Every single time I find myself out of my center, back in a state of turmoil or inner suffering, I employ the mantra, everything is perfect. It is what it is. One of the behaviors that I used to engage in was the need to know why events were unfolding as they were. Why are Ben and Eric sick? Why is Catherine throwing yet another tantrum? Why is my marriage falling apart? Why is that person being mean to me? The truth is, you don't get to know why. It just is. In order to bring yourself back to center, you need to surrender this need to know. You need to simply allow. You are not in control, remember? Questions for reflection. Looking at your own circumstances, are you willing to let go of judgment entirely and see the people and or situations in your life as perfect? Are you willing to surrender your need to know why things are as they are? So this is a big, heavy hitter of a statement and a teaching. And I think I did kind of point to it in here. Like, I don't know that maybe you do land to a place where you're seamlessly doing this day in and day out. I'm still learning this divine perfection lesson. And I can see growth. Since I wrote this book, I can see progress. Something that I would say that I would maybe phrase this differently today. For me, it's less about immediately seeing the opportunity or immediately seeing it as perfect. Like, I think that's maybe a little optimistic, over-optimistic. I don't know. This 34-year-old Marin was pretty optimistic, apparently. But what my life experiences in the last 8 years or so, or 9 years, have shown me is that sometimes it's not clear what the opportunity is or the perfection. Like, sometimes it's like, it's not obvious. And where I would say I'm at now is I surrender to the fact that I don't know what it is right now, but I also trust that there is one. I trust that there is an opportunity. I trust that there is a gift. I trust that it's the Tao, the symbol of the Tao, right? So there's the dark fish and the white fish, and it's not all black and dark. There's like a ray of hope, which is that little white circle. And I turn my attention towards that. I allow the dark to be there and I try not to fight it because it is and it's happening. But I also turn my attention towards that white circle of possibility, of gift, of opportunity. Like, what is, and just be curious. Like, I don't know what it is probably as it's unfolding. I've told this story before, I think in a blog. But this summer, my son had a horrific accident. He poured a pot of boiling water on himself while he was out in the woods camping, and my dad, he wasn't with me, he was with my dad, and my dad called me to drive out there and figured I'd be faster than the ambulance and whatnot, and I was. So I went out there, we brought him to the hospital, they put us in an ambulance at the hospital and took us to the children's hospital and such. And I have a history of trauma in my medical based trauma in my family of origin. So not necessarily stuff happening to me, although stuff has happened to me, but like 99.9% of the stuff was happening to my brothers. Ambulances and seizures and near-death experiences and crazy land. And I was right in the center of the storm frequently. And there's a pattern or a imprint of PTSD in my brain. And so that pattern of PTSD definitely got activated in this traumatic experience from the summer. My body was dysregulated. I managed to stay in witness consciousness. So I was like watching Marin's body, the personality's body, lose its mind and totally freak out, and like all the things that come with adrenaline and all the neurochemical things around dysregulation. So I was watching that happen, but there was also this white dot of possibility, of hope, of trusting that it was all, I kind of said, I don't know why Kefren and I chose this experience, or I don't know why this is unfolding like it is, or I don't know why this is happening, and I don't get to know that. But somewhere in here is an opportunity. Somewhere in here is a gift. Somewhere in here is a blessing. Somewhere in here, my mom has written a book called Could This Be Grace? And it's going to be coming out this spring. And it's the same kind of theme. Like somewhere in here is grace. Somewhere in this dark, horrible, yucky, terrible situation is grace. And, this is how my family, perhaps, this is how my family, this is the narrative or the story or the worldview that my family has cultivated in order to survive what we survived, right? We're all survivors. The boys are passed away, but the three of us are still here. And how do you reconcile that? How do you make peace with that? How do you go through such intense, especially for my parents losing two of their children, like how do you move through such intense loss and try to make sense of it and keep going because you still are here? So those are the big questions that I kind of have been, brewed in my formative years. And I think that's where this comes from. So I'm wary of these lessons sounding like that they're flippant, or that they're like a cliche, like a spiritual, you just slap some woo-woo on that and it'll be fine. I really want you to know that that's not the intent or the spirit of these teachings. That's not how they've emerged for me, and I hope that's not how they're coming through, because the most sincere message is actually yes, that's hard and horrible and painful and excruciating, and there's a white dot. And I have to believe in that white dot. I've had to create a belief structure around that to survive my life experience. And it's worked. I'm still here. And it helps me move through really hard things. And so that's what this is about, this lesson about the divine perfection and everything. And I don't think 34-year-old Marin had maybe the language yet to express it in that way. I just had a knowing. And so that's that. Everything's perfect. Everything's perfect. It's perfect in its imperfection is kind of one of the things that it says at the beginning of the book. Let's see if I can find it. I hired a life coach, and I worked with a life coach for a year back in, I think 2011. I don't think it says the date in here, but like a year and a half ago. I just want to read you the foreword about what she wrote, the foreword to my book, and this is what she wrote. One of the first times I ever spoke with Marin, she shared with me her thoughts on perfection. It was in response to something I had written about giving up the need to be perfect. She didn't disagree, but she shared a take that resonates with me to this very day. Marin talked about how everything is perfect. No matter how it seems, no matter how it feels in the moment, everything is perfect just as it is. Whatever is in front of you provides perfect learning, perfect opportunities, perfect love, It is all perfect. This doesn't come from a Pollyanna-like naivete. Maren doesn't pretend everything is easy. She simply speaks with a deep trust in the universe and in her path. She knows that whatever comes her way is a reflection of the profound and true wholeness that is the very core of all that it is. Maren doesn't just talk about fierce integrity, she lives it. It's not an abstract idea where one thinks, if only we could do it, life would be better. She does it. Finding the perfection in any moment is one of her many superpowers. She shows up fully, bringing a keen eye and a loving heart with her. It's not always an easy task to take what can be painful and view it as exactly what is needed, as not a form of punishment, but as an act of love. Aw, that actually makes me feel really emotional. Because I admire this woman, Joanna Rothman is her name. I admire this woman's embodiment of coach, guide, mentor, and she's the reason I'm a coach. So that's really beautiful and profound. I hadn't read that in a number of years, and it's true. And I actually didn't know I was going to go and find that, and it just kind of synchronistically showed up. So super cool. Thanks for watching episode 9. Next episode, we will be looking at the attitude of gratitude and receiving a gift.